Welcome everybody. I am Mithika and I will walk you through Intellicus integration and user management session today. You must have seen various functionalities Intellicus can provide. Today, I will be talking about how these functionalities can be embedded in your application. Duration of the session will be 60 minutes followed by question and answers. Various topics I will discuss in the coming slides will be: what is Intellicus integration, why integration is required, and how it is achieved. We will also cover Intellicus high-level architecture in embedded environment and white labeling of Intellicus. Apart from integration, we'll also talk about user and role management and data restriction in next half. If attendees have any questions, please post them in Q&A tab, which will be answered by our panelists. Now, the first question which arises in everybody's mind is, what is Intellicus integration? Basically, integration refers to calling Intellicus pages from some other application. The various components which can be integrated are reports, dashboards, or any other reporting functionality. It means integration is not only for the static, it can also be done of dynamic components by fetching data from Intellicus repository and creating your own pages. Intellicus provides seamless integration with various common technologies like Java, .NET, and PHP. Next, I will cover why part. Why integration will benefit you. This is because integration helps you to have reporting and analytic functionality in your own application, and hence it becomes easy for you and your customers to get better insight into your application's data. With the help of Intellicus, multiple visualizations can be created which help managers or decision makers to take better business decisions. Intellicus has some pretty good reporting and analytic features which are well tested. So integrating Intellicus will help you in saving a lot of time and development efforts in case these features had to be developed from scratch. Let me talk about high-level architecture of Intellicus in embedded environment. Here, let us assume that Intellicus is running on a separate web server than that of your application. Now, when a user wants to access Intellicus from web or mobile, then all that is needed is Intellicus SSO libraries to be placed in your application, which contains methods to authenticate and authorize your application users to access various Intellicus functionalities. Before moving on to the technical details of how integration is happening, I'll first like to show a demo for the same via a sample application. This is a sample application created in Java. John is a valid user of this application. Now, when John logs in into this application, he can see various use cases on the left-hand side, which are not a part of this application but have been embedded from Intellicus. Let me click on Dashboard Designer link here. On clicking this link, the dashboard page of Intellicus will be called from this application. So basically, this is achieved by calling the URL associated with the dashboard designer page, which is dashboard slash dashboard viewer.jsp. And that particular URL is called inside an iframe here. On this page, user can add a new dashboard, drag reports and widgets, edit the dashboard, save his changes, etc. So basically, all the functionalities which can be performed on standalone Intellicus portal can be performed here. Let me show you another example by clicking on Employee Analysis Dashboard here. So basically, when I click on this particular link, this is integrating a report from standalone, which was created on standalone Intellicus portal here inside an iframe. We can see clearly from here that using integrated Intellicus would be a seamless experience for users as they won't be aware that they are currently using some different application. The login page of Intellicus won't appear anywhere as users will be able to access Intellicus from within their own application bypassing the login screen of Intellicus. And also Intellicus customizes its pages in such a way that Intellicus pages match the look and feel of your application. Now, as we discussed, users of your application will be able to access Intellicus use cases from within their application. But how will Intellicus application know which user has requested for accessing various functionalities? Therefore, we have designed a single sign-on mechanism so that user credentials of the user can be passed from your application to Intellicus. We provide you with a single sign-on library which contains some functions for interaction between your application and Intellicus. These functions are implemented at your site, and then when a user requests for reporting, user credentials are then passed to Intellicus web server. By user credentials, what I mean is user ID and organization ID of the logged in user to create that user space in Intellicus. Intellicus does not need password of the logged in user as that user is already authenticated in your application. If that particular user is present in Intellicus, a token is returned to your application. This token is then used by the user for further interaction with Intellicus. Now it is important to know that this type of authentication is very secure as user credentials are passed between web servers and password is not transferred over a network here. So this is the token based single sign-on mechanism. Next, we will see how integration can be achieved. We have several APIs through which integration can be done. First, we have HTTP APIs. So Intellicus has been designed in such a manner that every page in Intellicus is associated with a specific URL. Hence, to call any page in Intellicus, URL of that page is called inside an iframe or maybe in a new window. Therefore, via this means any page of Intellicus can be integrated in your application. In the sample application, we have several use cases also which have been integrated with the help of HTTP API. Some examples are Explorer, Employee Analysis Dashboard, Dashboard Designer, Category Listing, and so on. So all these are examples of HTTP API integration. Let me click on Explorer page here. This would list out various categories and entities present in those categories. Entities can be executed from this page as they are done on standalone Intellicus Explorer page. We also have Java APIs which can be used to integrate Intellicus. I will show you an example of a page that we have created with the help of Java APIs. So Java APIs are basically the server APIs, which means that they fetch data from the server and then that data can be displayed as per your requirement. So this page which is created with the help of Java APIs, this is not a part of Intellicus portal. Here I fetched reports of a particular category and displayed on UI. If I select any report Your HTTP API for report run uh, would be used to run that report. And on similar lines, we also have REST APIs, which can be used for embedding Intellicus functionalities in your application. Now we do realize that integrating Intellicus has to be a seamless experience for users. That is, they should not feel that these pages are coming from a separate application. It is easily possible to customize these pages. For example, for if your application's theme is orange, then Intellicus pages or theme can be changed to match the look and feel of your application as shown here in this image. Now let us assume that only a few use cases of Intellicus are required at your end. For example, you want only dashboards and ad hoc reporting to be made available to your customers. And other use cases like high-speed view should be removed here. Then is it achievable here? The answer is yes, it is easily achievable. Only by making certain configuration changes, this can be done. From the screen you see here, all the use cases which have to be removed, they can be selected and they can be deleted. And then this configuration can be saved for a particular organization, user, or role. Next, we will talk about access rights page on Intellicus. From this page, we can decide which users have to be given access on what objects of Intellicus. For example, there might be a certain user admin in your application who would get rights over everything, managing all administrative activities like configurations, user management, etc. That user will be assigned with super admin system privileges and full rights over categories. While there might be different users who would have rights only on a certain category or a few reports. In such a case, that reporting object can be selected and required rights can be provided on it for that particular user or role. Intellicus also has role-based concept in which you can assign rights to a particular role and then that role can be assigned to a set of users. Next, we'll talk about authentication modes in Intellicus. Intellicus supports 4 modes of authentication. First mode is Intellicus type. It means that all the valid users of Intellicus shall be authenticated. Second is external application. It means that users are authenticated via external application. Intellicus supports various external applications for authentication like LDAP, LDAP-S, Windows NT, and SAML 2.0. For this host application, it means that the users who are valid users of your application need not be authenticated again when accessing Intellicus pages. Once they are authenticated by your application, they should be able to access Intellicus pages directly. And last is callback mechanism. In this, you can write your own authentication logic, which is called by Intellicus. We discussed that for seamless integration, the valid users of your application should be directly authenticated into Intellicus. But how will Intellicus get to know whether the user is a valid user or not? For that, Intellicus will have to store the user credentials and map the users with those of your application to validate that particular user. Therefore, it is mandatory that all those users should be present in Intellicus. So with that, the question arises that how will those users be synchronized in Intellicus? So there are various ways to do so. First is it can be done directly via the user management page present on our portal. There you can create users and assign system privileges to those users. Also, you can create various roles and then assign each role to a set of users. But let's say that there are 1,000 or more users in your application. Then synchronization of all those users in Intellicus manually would not be a feasible solution. Hence enters integration.xml. Users can be synchronized in Intellicus on the fly by one-time configuration activity performed in this file. Users can be created and mapped, assigned system privileges and access rights by making certain changes in integration.xml file. Whenever a new user requests for reporting, this XML file will come into picture for user synchronization and all the user synchronizing activities will be performed. Therefore, we can say that this is an automated way of creating users in Intellicus, and hence most of our clients use this method for synchronizing users between the two applications. We do have a third method of user synchronization, which is with the help of Java APIs. This method can be used if customer wants to control whether user has to be created in Intellicus or not based on his requirement. And thus we provide you with certain Intellicus APIs to perform user management related activities, and those APIs can be called inside your code to achieve this. In Intellicus, it is also possible to show different data to different users by executing a single report. Let me show you this with the help of an example. My application, first let me log in via John user. Now here when I open employee analysis dashboard, I can see that data here is shown corresponding to 5 different business units. This is business unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let me log out from here. Let me log in from a different user. When I click on employee analysis dashboard again, here data is shown corresponding to 3 business units, which is business unit 1, 2, and 3. Therefore, we can say that row level filtering can also be achieved by integration. For ad hoc and smart reports, also various business parameters can be passed from your application to Intellicus, which will be replaced in SQL of the query object. And then that report will be displayed with the parameter that is set in the query. So if such a use case is required, then that can also be done through integration. Next, we see multi-tenant architecture of Intellicus. In this case, if you have a number of customers using the application, separate space is defined for each client in the repository. Each client with their own database share the same instance of Intellicus, but they are unaware of any other client space in the instance. Hence, data isolation is maintained here. Second approach of multi-tenancy is using single database approach. Here access can be provided only on required data by passing business parameters to filter your data as per requirement. We've already discussed how Intellicus is deployed in integrated environment. So there are two deployment architectures. First is Intellicus and host application running on separate web server. And second is Intellicus embedded inside a host application. When Intellicus and host are running on separate web servers, in this case, whenever host application user will click on reporting, the request will be redirected to Intellicus web server. Web server will further interact with the report server, and report server will fetch the report layout from Intellicus repository, and data will be fetched from the host database. So here data will be displayed to the user as per requirement, as shown in the diagram here. In the second deployment architecture, the only difference is that the web client of Intellicus is deployed inside your application. Here session will be shared and single sign-on mechanism is not required. Next, we'll talk about Intellicus white labeling. But first, let's discuss why is white labeling required. With white label Intellicus, customer can have Intellicus application with their own brand name, color, theme, and images. In case customer needs a standalone reporting solution under their own brand name, then white labeling can be achieved in that case. Various components of Intellicus can be white label. For example, portal can be rebranded by changing the logo, colors, and brand as required. Also, theme changes can be done to match Intellicus application fonts and colors to that of your application. We have dedicated UX team who has been doing these customizations for a lot many customers now, so that is rightly possible. That's it about integration. Next, I'll talk about user management. Talking about user management, I'll explain how users can be created in Intellicus and assigned different privileges to use various Intellicus functionalities. After that, I will also talk about access rights in Intellicus and data restriction. First, let me log in. I'm logging in via super administrator user here. Let me go to manage users. First step would be to create an organization. Clicking on this add button here. As already discussed, Intellicus supports 4 types of authentication modes. So as per requirement, any of these authentication modes can be selected and the new organization can be saved here. After creating organization, next step would be to create a new user in this organization. So we can enter the required username here, password as per the password policies, and then we can assign different system privileges or roles to this particular user. Let me talk about these system privileges one by one. So first is super admin system privilege. Super admin system privilege will assign privilege to a user where he can access all the entities present in Intellicus. He has control over users of all the organizations, and as the name clearly states, he is the super user. So currently I'm logged in via a super admin user only. When I click on navigate, I can see the complete list of functionalities available in Telecus and can be directly, all these functionalities can be directly accessed on click of these links. Next, I'll talk about organization admin system privilege. Organization admin user will have control over users of only his organization. He won't be able to see other organizations and users, or won't be able to control any other organization related data over which he doesn't have access to. Let me log out and log in via org admin user here. Let me click on manage users. Here we see that only Intellica organization and users inside this organization are listed here. This is because org admin users won't be able to see other organizations. So here this user can control organization related uh, data or functionalities and can assign system privileges or roles only to the users of this particular organization. Also, let me click on navigate here. So the difference between an org admin and a super admin would also be that certain options like iPackager and deploy repository bundle would be visible to a super admin user, but won't be visible to an org admin. Let me log out and again log in through a super administrator. Moving on with other privileges. Next is batch scheduler administrator. So when this privilege is assigned to a user, he will be able to see schedule menu on the navigation pane. From jobs page, new schedule jobs can be created in bulk, and also depending on the scope selected here, organization or global, this user would be able to see schedule jobs created by users of his own organization or of all the organizations. Next is category setup. This privilege provides rights to perform category related operations like creating or deleting categories, performing mass operations like copying or moving entities from one category to another. Next is data admin. Data admin, as the name suggests, has access over data. Data can be queried from the repository tables and query objects can be created. So data admin can create queries, parameter objects, analytical objects, etc. And all these reporting objects which are concerned with data can be created via data admin. Next, talking about designers. Designers have the right to design reports. They are segregated into ad hoc report designer, dashboard designer, standard report designer, and dashboard widget designer. Deploy repository bundle. So any user with this privilege will be able to deploy Intellicus CAP files. And then we have generate link. This privilege governs the right to create shareable links for published reports to non-Intellicus users. So basically the permalink option on our schedule job page. So the links created with that can be uh, only created with users who have access or who have this particular system privilege assigned. Delicus also supports the concept of roles. So any roles that we create will be listed out here, and those roles can then be assigned to users. Let me create a role here. So here we see that role 1 is listed out under roles tab. Next, let me talk about data restriction. Data restriction can be applied at organization and user, both levels. During the demo, we saw that the same report can be executed by different users, showing them data over which only they have access to. So restrictions can be applied via parameter to users. And let me go to host org here. And when I click on join user, selecting PRM SBU, we see that allowed values for John are 5. But when I click on mic user for the same parameter, we see that allowed values are only 3 for this particular user. This is the reason why we were able to see different data for different users on executing a single report. Moving on to access rights now. Access rights of Intellicus decide which user has access on what objects of Intellicus. Example, there might be certain users who should have access to HR related reports only in HR category, while other users should have access to demo reports. So access to various categories, reporting objects, and connections can be provided via access rights page. Let me explain various levels of access we can provide here. So first we need to select object over which access needs to be provided. From the next pane, we have to select access has to be provided to which organization, user, or role. And in the last pane, we have option to set full, partial, or deny rights over these particular uh, objects over that user or organization. Full access, as is clear from the name, provides complete access on the selected object for that particular user or organization. But when partial access is selected, users will have an option to provide separate access over various entities. like reports, query objects, parameter objects, dashboards, etc. For example, in case of a category, user can choose to give rights to reports, QO, PO only, but access to analytical objects can be denied. Deny access on particular reporting object, but not list that object only for that selected user. And talking about skip folder, it means that selected category and all objects in the selected category will not be listed to the user, but the child categories inside it would be visible. Let me show a quick demo of what we discussed right now. So I have created 4 users, assigned them with different system privileges and access rights. And then I'll log in from these users one by one to show exactly what these users have access over and why they are able to perform various activities or why they are not able to access certain categories. We'll just check that. So for demo user 1, I have assigned partial rights over HR category. Uh, for a few of the entities, I have selected partial. For query objects, I have set as deny. For demo user 2, I have provided full rights to this user over HR category. For demo user 3, I have provided partial rights to the user over this category, but to child category, I have set access rights as denied. And for demo user 4, I have selected skip folder option here. And also when we go to system privileges, I have assigned different set of system privileges to these users. Now, let me go to a different browser. Logging in via demo user 1. Here we see that HR category is visible to this particular user. Now let us just go and check what rights we have provided to this user. In system privilege, we have not assigned any system privilege, and in access right, I have set deny for all query objects. Now let us see whether HR category has any query object or not. Yes, there is a query object named as HCM present here, but logged in from demo user 1. That particular query object is not visible here due to the access that we have provided. Also, when I click on navigate, I don't see any option to design new reports or to deploy repository bundle or to schedule uh, any jobs here. This is because we have not assigned any system privilege to this particular user. This was about demo user 1. Logging out and logging again from a different user. For demo user 2, we are able to see all these categories. Let us go and check what access we have provided to this particular user. To HR category, we have provided full access over HR category. But talking about other categories, we have not set any or we have not provided any access over those categories. The question is, how are those categories visible then? So let us check system privileges. Here we have assigned category setup privilege to this particular user. Due to this system privilege, all the categories which are created by users of Intellica organization are visible to demo user 2. So whatever a user sees here, it is a combination of what system privilege we have provided, and after that, what access we have provided to that particular user. Also, this user can design query objects, parameter value groups, analytical object, etc. This is because of system privilege data admin. Moving on to demo user 3, we have assigned a few designer privileges here and also deploy repository bundle. In access right, I think we have provided uh, partial rights to this user. But for child category, we have set deny. So this user should be able to see HR category, but not child category. Logging in from demo user 3. So as expected, we are able to see HR category here, but child category is not visible. And when we click on navigate, we see that due to standard report designer system privilege, this user has rights to design a new studio report. And also deploy repository bundle is seen due to the system privilege provided. Logging out from here, logging into the last user, which is demo user 4. Let's check what privileges and access rights we have assigned here. So for demo user 4, we have provided skip folder access over HR category and in system privileges. So we have assigned a set of designer privileges to this user. So here we see that HR category is not visible, but child category is visible. This is because we have provided skip folder access to this user over HR category. So here we can see that dependency of child category over parent category is removed. In case if only child category is to be shown, then that can be achieved via skip folder access right. Also, when I click on navigate, options to design Ad hoc reports, smart view, high speed view, dashboard designer, dashboard widget, they are available here because this particular user has system privileges to design new reports, dashboards, etc. We see an option here which is include dependencies. So include dependencies means access to this object will be given along with all the dependent objects to execute that report, dashboard, etc. For example, in case of ad hoc report, access will be given to query object and parameter object as well, which are required for running that report. One important thing to note here is that if at parent level, full or deny access is provided, then in such a case, access provided at child level wouldn't be applicable as children will inherit access from org level itself. Only in case of partial or skip folder, we can segregate access for various users or roles. That's it about user management. Please post your questions if any, and we'll be happy to address those. Thank you everybody for joining.